All right, it's super cold outside, so in a stray from our usual, we're going to do some more freezer top projects like we did last winter. I have two things here that need to come apart. We have this carburetor off of a TO30 Ferguson, and then we have a transmission off of a Great Plains drill that does not work right anymore, and I have no idea why. Can't figure out why it's doing what it's doing when it's on the machine. So I replaced it, and we might as well tear this one apart and see if it's good for, you know, maybe we can rebuild it or something and have a spare. So that's what we're gonna do right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man, and I think we'll start with this carburetor so we can get it in the soaking. This comes off of a TO30 Ferguson. It is basically a twin to the one that my uncle has, and this tractor sat for probably the last 20 years or so, and they couldn't get it running. I went over there one day and helped them, but they had pretty well covered all the bases and never did figure out what it was. I had to leave for the school bus. He did eventually get it running, but he said it doesn't idle, and he wants this rebuilt. On visual inspection, the only thing I can see that is out of the ordinary is there's an awful lot of play in this choke shaft, and if that sucks in, you know, that can mess up your running. And the same way like here on your throttle shaft. However, throttle shaft has to be like this. It has to be where it just flops, or your governor won't do governor things. So we're gonna pull this apart so we can get it put into the dip and let it sit. Basically, it's the same type of carburetor that is on any Oliver, you know, Marvel Shebler, same type of deal. Nothing really out of the ordinary. So some of this would apply to that as well, if you're wondering and not sure what to do. We don't want to lose all this because I'm not exactly sure what all came in the kit that I got. So I think, well, I don't think I ever saw inside this carburetor. He said he had it apart and he said it was super clean in there. So that may be that it looks clean, but I have a feeling that somewhere up inside where you can't really see, there's stuff stuck in the passages. See, that was not clean. Pulling that out, it had some schmutz down in there. So yeah, I'm trying to do too many things at once here. Talking on the telephone, and yeah. Now that we finally got done with harvest time, we have time to work on more projects. And I've got plenty of stuff I could probably work on down here in the basement if I had to. I've got another one that I need to bring down here and do, and it's a very sad story. I'll tell you about it. It's a really sad story, actually. Not the condition of the item, but the circumstances that happened after the fact. So we'll do that one day too. I might go get it after a while and film the beginning of that video too. I don't know. It's gonna be awfully hard to make a video every day in the winter time if the weather's bad. So psych yourself up for, you know, not having a video every day. I thought about that's pretty cheesy, but I thought about re-releasing some of my earlier videos in higher quality as reruns, but release them in 4K. If I would start uploading one now, I might have one ready by Christmas. I think it just takes so much longer to upload, you know what I'm saying, in the high quality. All right. It does look pretty good. There is some, you can see where there was stuff sitting in the carburetor, and it made a line. I don't know if that's gonna come through on camera or not. I'm not really equipped for studio work like this, so I don't know. And I didn't bring enough stuff either, I don't think. I didn't bring, that might do it though. Okay. I usually use a deep well to do stuff like that. Consequently, if you watch that Moline video, this is the piece that messed up on that other carburetor, but it's made differently. On these small bowl ones like this, it usually threads in like from the top. There's a washer I want to get with it. This tube, it's got holes in it. It's like a nozzle type deal. And anyway, on the other ones, it screws in from under through here and goes up in there, and then just the tip of the nozzle comes out through a hole in here. Well, when it's made that other way, it has like, it's got to go way up in there, and it's just got a screw head on it. You got to stick a screwdriver up in there and back it out. Well, the guy before had just totally destroyed it up in there. There was nothing really to grab a hold on. And I thought I had it where it was going to move, and then it broke. It was like cracked, and then it got stuck in there, and it was just a mess. I've had that happen before, but I don't think I've ever had one fail quite as catastrophically as that one did. And like I said, I found a whole nother carburetor that's rebuilt and ready to put on, cheaper than I could tackle taking that one the rest of the way apart. And you know, that's the balance you have when you're working on something for somebody else. You know, I don't want to waste 10 hours of time taking apart something that I could just as soon get a different one and be ready to go. Because now he's only going to have a couple hours in it versus however long it would have took me to get that thing apart, and it just wasn't worth it in the end for the price of what I found the other one for. So that's the reason why we do what we do, you know. All right, what else do we have? Well, we can take the choke shaft out. And I'm not sure how much of the parts are in the new kit. It's outside in the car. So I'm gonna have to go get it after a bit. You see what I'm doing there? This may not be interesting, I don't know, but it's part of fixing things. Rebuilding carburetors. I think they're out of there. They're just hanging up where they're not wanting to play nice. And I probably didn't bring anything like a needle nose pliers to get that out of there. See, they're just flopping in there. They should come right out. There's one. Get out of there, you. There. Two. I think I said I was going to paint the top of this freezer last year, but I never did. Probably just replace it at some point. Okay. Now, I think that I have to take it out. I gotta be careful because I don't want to ruin anything and end up having to wait on a spring or whatever, because he's wanting this back pretty quick. So I want to see if I can just push this open and slide this out. But I'm afraid it has to come out the other way, is what I'm saying. If I remember right. Maybe I'm wrong. There we go. Thought we had her licked. There. Alright. Let's do that. And we can take this out. That spring, which I believe is broken. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, because if you have that spring on there, it's always going to go to open. And if your tractor doesn't run good or you have some kind of problem, you've got to sit there and hold the choke. Whereas if it doesn't, you could just, you know what I'm saying, put it the other way. That seems like a pretty good float. It still has the brass venturi. That's good. That Moline one I took apart was one of the plastic ones. That does look good, I have to admit. He's right about that. I don't know if I'm helping or hurting with the lighting situation. Ooh, I'm making shadows now. Maybe if I go like this. That's a little bit better. Come on off of there. And that one's too big for this. This is the screwdriver from the viewer, so thanks again, viewer, because it's been pretty handy. Look at how good it fits in there to get that. I think that's the biggest problem of why you see carburetors messed up, like that one on the Moline. People don't take the time to go find the screwdriver that really fits in the hole correctly, and then when you start messing it up, it's just a downhill slide of sadness. I mean, because a lot of these things are made of brass, and that's it. I mean, brass just doesn't have the stupidity tolerance like steel would. Sure. Let's take that off of there. Boy, that's a nice gasket to just destroy it, but oh, good. We saved it. I keep old gaskets if they stay relatively in one piece, because you never know for emergencies. That might get you going. But see, there's like 2 holes in here. I probably can't get the angle right, but those can get plugged up with stuff, and you know, underneath here, which connects through there. But what I'm saying is, there's places you can't see that just because it is clean looking doesn't mean that it's not got junk in it. So there we've got basically 2 castings. I don't think I'm going to take his fitting out. Is that going to be a mistake? Should I do that? I'm going to regret it, but I'll do it anyway. Everything else I've done so far is regretful. But sometimes there can be trash behind this too. Originals, I think, had like a screen in it sometimes, so sure. We'll put these in the magical juice and then let her sit for a few days. All right, with that done, that takes us to this little jobby. This is a Peerless transmission, actually made for Great Plains. It said the other one said Great Plains on it. It's probably down in here under the dirt. But I'm wanting to pull it in half and see why it no go. It's got an awfully lot of slop in it, I think, but that may be by design somewhat. It's a 4-speed transmission. Something is not right though, and because like I said, it would have a tight spot when you would turn it on the machine, and it wasn't the boxes. One way it would be fine, and the other way it would bind up. So that is the thing. And knowing me, I probably should get a piece of cardboard, because this is probably going to get really messy. Oh, the things I do for you, the viewer. I mean, this is one of the most ridiculous videos I've ever done. Just taking stuff apart, but I like to see how stuff works. See, that's how you learn things. Like that wasn't the right socket size, see? And it's probably going to be some version of metric or something. Consequently, what do you think a little chunk of aluminum like this costs? I'll tell you, it was $1,000. Actually, just slightly over 1,000. Now, do you suppose there's a right or wrong way to do this? I'm sure there's a wrong way, and we're going to find out what it is. But I would assume that this side is up, because that's the way it was on the machine, and I would assume that it just comes in two. The new one was glued with sealant, pretty darn heavy. Come to think of it, I bet you that we got to take something off of here other than just this little ring, because the shaft goes all the way through. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll see what happens. All right, we figured it out. We just got to get it off of there the rest of the way. But it's coming loose. That shifter was the thing that was holding it. It looks kind of nasty in there, to be honest with you. I mean, not surprised, because it was kind of dirty on the outside where it's probably been. Come on. Oh, sure. All right, well, other than the dirt that I raked in there, what do we see? That's some nasty old lube in there. So I got to think about this a minute. Your input is over here, is where it drives from. This side had like a acre counter thing mounted on it, and then over there is your output. So, but we've got, there's a lot of play on a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure that it's supposed to be. That gear, this big gear, has a lot of play on the shaft. That must be the one that it was in most of the time. There's a ball. Wonder where that came out of the cover, probably. Somewhere. Detemp ball for the... Oh yeah, it was in the lid for... So I'm not real sure how you guys would put it back together. I mean... I may not be able to do this with it. This is a different kind of setup, Clark. I'll be honest with you. So this, I believe, is just a there's nothing special about this. It's just an idler shaft setup. And I believe our trouble is probably in this. Boy, that's loosey-goosey there. I mean, this has thousands of acres on it, though, too. So, that shaft goes all the way through to the bottom. So, that's probably stuff. But here is what I would say was the killer for it. Look at all that wear. I mean, maybe that's acceptable, but I don't think it is. I mean, I can... And what it was probably doing was sometimes it would bind by kinking over to one side or another. Let me... Let's just force it to come apart, you know? Well, I wasn't sure what I'd find in here, if I would find liquid or actual grease, and we found grease. That's fine. There it goes. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, there we go. We're losing pieces. So, your gears had a cutout in them. And then that's how it works, I guess. Is that they just... Now, that one had a shim. Yeah. I think that's an awful lot of wear. And then it's got like this shifter deal, which just is like a... It's got two pegs on it and it engages in the one that you're in. So there's the slop this away. But I'm more worried about this side to side. I think that was probably what was binding it at different times. But who knows? What do I know? I mean, I'm not too smart. I just know that when you got a problem with something like this, okay, this is kind of like lawnmower transmissions almost. It ain't worth it to try to fix it. Even if it's expensive, you go to start working on replacing pieces and you still got a half wore out housing, you know, or what have you. So, I don't think I regret what I did, especially since it's always gone and I don't have time to go chasing after it for stuff like this. But, I'm going to blame it on that slop in there. I might be wrong. I guess you can tell me if you've ever had one of these apart, but I sure think that that's probably what the biggest part of our issue was. You know, I guess I could take the new one apart and see, but I'm not going to. Look at... Okay. I just think that's a lot. I mean, it may not seem like it, but if one of these gets bound one way and another one, you know what I'm saying. I just think that that's pretty well toast. I mean, it's nothing lasts forever, and that's where we are on that. Alright, so I guess I will wait, and I will bring you back whenever I put this carburetor back together and we'll make a video about that. As always, if you enjoy my videos, give them a thumbs up. That helps out the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Leave a comment. Tell me that you liked it or tell me that you hated it. Tell me I'm a moron. I really don't care, but anything that you say helps us out too. So thank you again, as always, for watching, and I will see you in the next one.